Hello, welcome back to Carl's Off the Grid, folks. This week we are going to address something that I should have probably addressed last fall, but we ran out of time, and that is next to me to the left, which is kind of out of screen. You can see the concrete board. I have my wood burning stove here, and along with having a wood burning stove, obviously you have to be safe and take some safety precautions towards fireproofing the cabin. And that's what we're going to do today. By manufacturer specs, my wood burning stove has to be a minimum of 17 inches off this back wall to be safe. And then also they recommend that you make the wall fireproof. The wood burning stove is about 22 inches away from the wall, so we are definitely safe. And I do have the concrete board up. But adjoining to the concrete board this week, we are finally going to put in the fireproof tile that we picked up, and I'm going to show you how to do this. This is going to be a learning experience for me. I am no expert by any means, but I have consulted with a couple different tile guys that I work with, and they feel confident that we should be able to put this together. Today the tools that we're going to be using for this project is I have a Milwaukee M18 cordless drill, which will be stirring my will be powering my mortar mixer or stirring wand. And then we also have a tool, a trowel, that's going to be used to spread the mortar. This one is a 1/4 inch, and you can see there's little teeth that are cut out. I don't know which way is the best way to show the camera this. See the teeth that are cut out across the top here? That's going to evenly distribute that 1/4 inch of thin set on the back wall. And so it's essential to have the right trowel for whatever thin set you're using and for whatever size tile you're using. I'm going to be using 1 by 2 foot tiles, so that's what the manufacturer recommends. Always the most important thing that you can have on the job is a good sponge. And obviously I got a bucket of water off camera. That sponge is going to be essential throughout the whole job. The tile men all agreed on one thing, and they said a sponge is your most important tool. And then I also got a different type of trowel that's really soft, and that is going to be for when we put the grout in between the joints of the tile. And then of course, obviously the last thing that you'll need are, well, I haven't even opened these up yet. Let me quick open these up. These are little spacers that will hold the tile apart at an even space, and that's what they look like. This manufacturer of these tiles recommends that you keep a minimum of, I think it was an 1/8 inch gap in between the tile. I liked a little bit thicker gap that goes in between her, so I'm going to be using these. And we'll go ahead and start getting the mortar mix now. And I guess I'll explain right in advance now the procedure that I'm going to use. Whenever you mix up your mortar mix, you kind of want it to have a consistency of maybe, I don't want to say peanut butter, a little bit soupier than peanut butter, but you want it to be pretty thick. And so I'm not going to talk much while I'm working. I kind of wanted to let you know in this prelude to the video what we were going to be doing and how we're going to be doing it. But if you want to watch along, that'd be great. And I'll show you how we're fireproofing this thing, and we'll move on forward with the project. The tile that I got, like I earlier said, is 1 foot high by 2 foot wide. And so what I'm going to do to figure out where it has to be centered on this wall is I take my handy dandy tape measure and I measure off the side wall to the center of the stovepipe. Mine is 34 inches, and I'm going to go ahead and on this gray board mark at 34 inches a line, and that way I know all the way down exactly where the center is and where the tile should line up. Little bit of a Carl's Off the Grid helpful hint. If you are in a rush to get out to the cabin and do work and you forget a marking pen, you can always take a 30-06 shell, and the tip of the shell is made out of lead. And so I am using this 30-06 shell as my marking pen, and it works pretty darn good. All right, here's the mortar, the bonding agent that I chose. It's VersaBond, and this stuff is for bigger tile. So make sure that you get the right bonding agent or mortar for your tile when you set your project up. You guys, I could just scream right now. I went to go check my video recorder as I was installing all the tile, and I realized my batteries died and I did not catch any of the installation of tile. So I recharged my batteries, I pulled one tile off, and I reworked everything. I've got all the grout, or the not the grout, but the bond and everything is brand new on the wall. And I'll show you what I'm doing here. And I have to apologize. This just makes me sick, because all the time that you put into making these videos and then you have something happen like this with your equipment, it just makes you scream. So what I did is I put all the tile on the wall, and you can see on this side right over here, there it is in the camera, I screwed up and the concrete board did not come over far enough. There's like a 2-inch gap. I've got a tile man that taught me a trick that we can do to compensate for that. I'm not going to put any of this mortar mix or adhesive, on the wood, because that would be a terrible mistake. When the cabin heats up and cools down, that contracting and expanding would cause it to break. And unfortunately, I'm 250 miles away from home, and I don't have the tool to cut, there it is, the edge of the tile off. So he said I'd be okay. He's got a grinding tool that later on I can come back and nip it off with that tool. And actually, I'm going to have him do it, because I haven't done this before and I don't want to screw this up after taking all this time. So I'll show you how to put on the last tile, and it's the same procedure throughout the whole thing. So, there's more snow breaking off the roof. So don't feel like you missed out on a whole lot. It's kind of a boring, monotonous job. But here's how it goes. So I've mixed up this mortar that it has like, I guess you'd want to say maybe the consistency of peanut butter, like I said earlier. And you can see on the back of the trowel, I've got an 1/8-inch trowel. It leaves the grooves. And all that you do is wet down the concrete board behind here, and then wet down the back of the tile. You take this trowel and run it across. And as you do that, can you see the grooves that it leaves? That leaves you with just the amount of grout in there to make the tile stick. So it is going to be hard to kind of film this, because I'm doing this one-handed with the camera in the other hand. But let's go get the last tile, and we'll dampen the back side of it, and I'll show you how I'm sticking it on there. So give me a second, I got to find the last tile. Okay, so it's as simple as this. I've got my bucket behind me with the wet sponge in it. We are going to go ahead and apply just a light coat of moisture to the back of the tile. And like I said, it's really important before you even put the mortar on the wall. I was told it was important to get that wet as well. You don't need to have the water running off like it just did for my sponge, but just get it damp so that the mortar has something to hang on to. And then they sell you these plastic spacers. I'll show you those real quick. These come 300 to a bag. I showed you them a little bit earlier. I have no shortage of these. So I'm going to go a little bit overboard. And I've been putting these in maybe, it's not real precise, but like every 4 to 6 inches, just to hold the weight of the tile up. So we're going to go ahead and press this firmly against the mortar, and I like to kind of move it around to get everything to adhere so we don't have any air pockets behind there. I don't know if that's the right thing, but it's the way that I like doing it. And then we go ahead and stick the spacers in. I've got a little bit of extra mortar that squeezed out on this one. I went a little sloppy on things here. So while it's wet, you can just easily wipe it off with a sponge. And then you can see along the wood on the top, I've got a little bit of slop up there too. So I'm just going to go ahead and wipe as much off as I can with my finger. And then the rest we'll just lightly skim coat with the sponge. And then as it starts to dry, I can go back over it with clean water again a second and third time. And I'm going to do this a little bit different. Most of the time people get like bullnose tile and they put it around the outside excuse me, for a finish. And I've got a couple ideas on what I want to do. I'm thinking of maybe putting a mantle up top here and everything yet. So I'm going to hold off from buying any bullnose and putting that around as a border. And on this side I'm kind of screwed anyways because I went over my concrete board. But I hope that the little bit I was able to splice into here will give you a great idea on how to do this on your own project and what you shouldn't do on your project. I don't claim to be a professional. You know, this, like I said earlier in the video, this is my first time doing it, but I've had a little bit of coaching on the side. So I'm going to go ahead and take the camera from the back side of the wood burning stove and I'll give you a view of how it looks like when we're looking straight at it. Alright, so we finally got the fireproofing in for the wood stove. Sorry that the video cut out on us, but that was beyond my control. This mortar that we use to connect the tile to the concrete board is going to take 24 to 48 hours to dry. I don't want to push that, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to end this video here, and then next week I am going to go ahead and I'll put the mortar on. And one of my incentives for ending the video here too, last week I told you I wouldn't be able to make it to the cabin because of a snowstorm. Well, guess what? That snowstorm is coming tonight, so we were able to skate, you know, underneath the storm real quick, get out here, get a little bit of work done on the cabin, and then we're going to quick get out of here because starting at 6 o'clock in the morning and going till about 6 o'clock in the evening, we're going to have a real wet, heavy snow come in. Looks like we're probably going to get another probably 6 to 8 inches of snow. So we want to get out of here before that snow comes because it just makes things heck to get out of the north woods. Sometimes the plows are a little bit slow, and as you know, my private road here isn't plowed. So anyways, hopefully this will start to help you guys that are starting to develop your own tile projects. Like I said, I'm not a professional. This is how I did it. And I did a little bit of research with the guys that I work with that do tile work for a living, and this is the way that they coached me, and I'm happy with the end results. I think it looks real nice. I like the color tile that we chose. It has an earthy tone to it. It's like granite, and everything here in the cabin, it's important to me to keep along with that natural theme. And you know, granite obviously comes from nature. So anyways, that's where we're at. All right, thank you so much for joining us this week. I appreciate your support. We'll catch you next time on Carl's Off the Grid.